And that's why I'm rushing.
It's the time?
Just about.
You have 32 seconds.
I can go Thursday night for sure. I did go this Thursday shelter.
All right, someone just yawned.
That was me, I'm sorry, I'm so
You
sorry.
started it.
Why does the human reaction do that?
I don't know. You know what? Sometimes my cats do it too. Sometimes my cats
It's been
don't.
very hot. That's the other thing.
I could have sworn that one time I Googled it, and there was like some research articles that I found.
How you guys been doing?
To show, yeah. I was like,
Somebody's suffocating because they have lack of oxygen, so they're yawning, so I need to cover my head.
Right, do I have oxygen?
Yeah.
I better take some.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Oh, the halftime.
It is now 7 p.m., Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. And I call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Cindy, would you please lead the roll call?
Arlandu,
Here.
Kiros,
Here.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Present.
Hilberg,
Present.
Meadows,
Present.
Sliger,
Present.
Swisicki,
Present.
All right, we'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Any items to ever remove or add today?
no.
All right, great. Tonight, we are celebrating the community health fairs organized by Kelly. Thank you, Coonrod, and our district nurse coordinator, and Amy Nelson, our district community outreach coordinator. Kelly and Amy, welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening. Please stand, take the podium, and tell us about this great new initiative that
All
you've
right,
developed for our
thank
family.
you. Thank you for having us tonight. I am Amy Nelson, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Batavia Schools. And this is Kelly Coonrod, our amazing district nurse.
We are very proud and honored to be here today to celebrate the combined efforts of both of our committees to support the families and the students for access to medical care, dental, vision throughout the district. Each year at BPS 101 and all across the state of Illinois, there are required public health requirements that are mandated by the state of Illinois. Being in attendance each year is very, very important for our students' sense of belonging, academic, social, emotional development. Exclusions for even one day impacts the student. In looking at our district's exclusionary trends, we noticed that the most often the students and families affected by medical exclusions are those that have difficult accessing medical care. In 2024-2025, 982 students out of our 5,218 students were eligible for federal subsidies. That was nearly 19% of our state student population. While not all these students experienced exclusions or difficulties accessing comprehensive healthcare services, but many did. Reasons include their ability to get the appointments. Oftentimes these clinics are full and very difficult to schedule with. Some of our parents have difficulty with transportations and barriers of fear of stigma, particularly when considering mental health services. Our hypothesis was that if we could partner and bring services to the school and the community, we could eliminate most of those barriers.
So we planned two amazing events, one on the east side of Batavia and one on the west side, to bring those things to light. We brought health services on site at Mercy Homes and at HC Storm School. I think this is the next slide. Yeah, perfect. Oh, there we go. So Mercy Homes had a huge event where there were many different community organizations there. But for our health fair portion of the day, we partnered with La Familia Dental. They came and they did dental exams right there on site. They brought their big mobile clinic, and kids got in their mobile van and did the exams. And then they did the same over at HE Storm School. They did not have their big mobile van, but they changed the teacher's lounge into their dental clinic. So they brought dental chairs in and did dental cleanings. 90 students were serviced by the dental. So 90 kids got to have cleanings and exams, many that have never had that before. They had vision screenings in conjunction with the Lions Club, and then they had physicals and immunizations on site with the VNA. So we partnered also with suicide prevention services and family counseling services to bring crisis services and mental health counseling right in our buildings during the year to provide services in addition to what supports they were receiving from our student services staff. So in all, we are really excited about these numbers because this was our first time doing this, and it was a huge success. We have a lot to celebrate and a lot to be really encouraged by. Mental health services for 28 students through family counseling and SBS. They hosted 2 comprehensive mobile health fairs. Provided on-site community outreach targeting medical services at community events. Like I mentioned before, 90 dental exams provided, 32 physicals and immunizations. The results of these partnerships are something that we should all be very proud of. I know I am super proud of it because our families were able to access services that some really have a hard time accessing. So in my view, that is a huge win. And we've been able to provide all of those other services to our family, the dental exams, physicals, immunizations, and the mental health. So while we have so much to celebrate, we have growth aspirations also. Just last week, we met with a representative from Walmart Vision in Batavia and are working on growing our partnerships to include access to comprehensive vision care. So this gal from Walmart contacted me and said, we would love to do more with you, and Natalie and I and Holly met with her, and it was a great meeting. So we're excited about that and the possibilities we have there. We very much look forward to continuing to grow the work that we're doing. We just started, so we would love to even help more families and the impact of these services within our community. I feel like connecting with our families and building those relationships with them is really important. And so this was another opportunity in my mind to do that and to show them that we really care about them, their families, and the students. So physical and mental health and wellness are a foundation to school success, and we are really thrilled that we were able to do this year and look forward to next year's.
Thank you.
That's all we have. Kevin, questions?
I do have and I apologize if I missed it. When were these health fairs?
So the West Side event, which was held at HE Storm School, was in April, like mid-April. I believe it was April 18th.
It was Good Friday.
Yeah, Good Friday, when we didn't have school. And then the Batavia Apartments event was in June. And we had all of these wonderful organizations there, plus Batavia Apartments set up so many other organizations there, like Chip In provided a foam party for the kids that day. The Batavia Women's Club did all of the food. There were area churches there that supported the event and had booths. Everyone had a table. Boys and Girls Club, which I know you've all heard about, they had a table there as well. So lots of great organizations at that event as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the totals that you provided, that was the total for just those 2 days?
Yes. Yeah, it was great.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. Amazing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Cindy, do we have anyone wishing to address the board today?
We do not.
Okay. All right, consent agenda. According to our board policy, we designate a portion of the agenda as consent agenda for those items that do not usually require extensive discussion before board action. These items are generally routine, recurring, and can be grouped together for efficiency. Steve, would you like to share our consent agenda?
I would enjoy that immensely. 5.1 and 5.2 is the approval of the June 24th, 2025 meeting and closed session minutes. 5.3 is the approval of our June 25th, 2025 special meeting minutes. 5.4 is our personnel report, and I would just like to do a quick commercial, if I may. We're still in need of parapros. We're doing very well in a lot of our other areas. Our parapros, we've increased their hourly rate significantly since our last bargain. We offer great benefits. And so if you're out there watching this and you have an interest in working with students, we really need you and we would love to have you. 5.5 is our payroll and bills. 5.6 is our donations. We'd like to thank the JBN PTO for their generosity. 5.7 is the renewal of Chromebook service contract. 5.8 is the special education and curriculum contracts. And finally, 5.9 is the approval of the consent agenda.
Any questions?
For 5.7, the Chromebook, I had asked this in an email too, but I thought it was interesting because here it says that they pick up the Chromebooks weekly, but as a parent, I know that there are times when I get them back like the next day. So I was curious about how much is handled in-house by staff.
So it's kind of a complicated answer, but I'll give you our statistics to kind of explain that. So this past year, we had 1,577 repair claims. So that means IT Savvy, with their weekly pickup, took out 1,577. In-house, we do screens and keyboards. So we had 548 of those that we were able to quickly turn around. In any case, if the thing's broken and we ship it, they get a loaner. And they'll use that until the other comes back. So they're never without a device. So as a district, overall for the year, we had about 2,100 full repair jobs the entire year. Now, if you do the math, how many students we have compared to that, that is a lot. So, but very useful service, helps us a lot. The weekly schedules are really awesome. That helps prevent a lot of delays, so.
Great, thanks for that.
Yeah.
info.
Anything else?
I also had a question about the Family Counseling Services of Aurora, and that there were 4 schools mentioned, and just wondering, what's the reasoning behind using those 4 schools but not extending it to others?
Come and handle it?
Yeah.
So we looked at the data in terms of the student needs, using low income as kind of the first threshold to look at, and then what their social worker caseloads and those types of pieces. So those were the schools. They're also Title schools, Title I schools. Hopefully they continue to get funding. But that's how we selected those 4 schools. But we don't turn kids away. If there's a family in crisis, we're going to use those wraparound services as best we can. They're a great partner.
Anyone else? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Motion by Aaron,
Second.
second by Danielle. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Meadows,
Yes?
Gilbert,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Arlandu,
Yes.
Garros,
Yes.
Sisiki,
Yes.
Slider,
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes. All right, Tom, reports, FOIA.
We received a few this past month, and those have been presented to the board.
Questions? Okay. Tony, treasurer update, or request, or whatever.
Treasurer's report, yeah. This is the last of the year. It isn't necessarily the final say of the year, as everything must still be audited, but there's nothing out of the ordinary there.
Okay. Tom, committee updates?
There are none at the moment.
Okay.
Thanks, Summer. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies.
Don't
There
diminish
will be,
theirs.
there will be a, did you want to do it now or you want to do it in your comments?
I think let's do it now, if that's okay.
So I will turn it over to our board policy committee chairs, as we did have our policy committee meeting yesterday, but that's why it's not in the board book, because the meeting took place after the board book was already published and posted.
So, yeah, so we met yesterday, so come August, you guys are gonna get like a whole booklet of all these, policies that have been updated and or are new. There are some procedures, however, we don't vote on those if we remember, we just present them, cause they're kinda like homegrown, some of them are as well. But the thing is, so we met yesterday and we looked at the policy 2.100, which is our term and duties and officers. So our consensus is just to mention it here, we only got one person's feedback before yesterday's meeting. So if anybody else has input, we would like you to submit it to Aaron and I by August 12th. That way we can see for the August meeting if we want to have that discussion about the terms. So we're gonna kind of go with, you know, what people thinks, majority, and so forth. And then come September, if we don't hear anything, it'll basically be a motion, or it'll just die, if we want it changed or not. If we do decide to modify that, just as a thing, so we will have to modify one other policy, which would be 2.210. And that's just how the reorganization policy is.
So you want us, you're asking for us to email you feedback?
Yeah.
Okay,
If you, I guess if you don't email us, then we're gonna take that as of, you like it the way it is, and that's it.
so the feedback would be to change. Okay,
Or you can tell us if you don't want it to change.
Or you like the way it is and you wanna
Yeah,
support that.
you can
either
let
way.
us know that
Whatever your
too.
opinion is on it.
But if I don't hear an opinion, I'm gonna think of, then you like it the way it is.
so there was no, I guess, from the last one, I thought you guys, is there anything that you have to share with us that would make a difference in how we feel about it? We can do 1 or 2 year terms, right? But there's nothing in it that would make,
There's nothing mandated.
There's no law mandating the length of the term.
okay.
The only thing we did ask, and I don't know if she got back to us yet, is just to reach out to, our ISB rep and just to say, what's ISB's, and she might have touched upon it in that meeting, just to get her official comment, but we haven't heard back from her. So, with that being said, if she does reach out to Tom, he said that he would be more than willing to forward her response to us, because we don't meet again until August.
So by August.
12th.
Okay.
Please,
12th, please.
yeah, because that way it gives us time
To read it.
to read it,
Okay.
and then we can present it to Tom, and that way we can have it on our August board meeting
The
agenda to
19th meeting,
discuss.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be a first read section under policy committee. At the next board meeting, regardless, as Raquel alluded to, we have a slew of other board policies that have to be reviewed
It was
with all of
heavy.
you.
You were there like an hour and a half going through them. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was good.
How many of those other ones, is it, one year we had like 200 to look at?
Not that many. It's probably like
Okay.
30 maybe, 25, 30.
I want to say there was like maybe 10 per page, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
But some of those were just procedures.
Like
Clip,
procedure,
clip
note
notes
changes, that
or,
kind of thing?
yeah, or they
Yeah.
change one word. Many of them are not, but some of them are substantial. Language
2 or 3 new ones?
Yeah, one,
Brown ones.
one really big new one, but 2 administrative procedures around
Right.
sexual violence.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to get that out earlier on than our board packet, so that we have a little more time to look at that stuff, do you think?
So everything is right now accessible on
Great.
the webpage.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think we can get it to you guys, no
Okay.
problem.
You go to our policy and you look under that section, you'll see proposed
It's under that.
revisions, and they're all listed
Perfect.
there.
That's all I wanted to see on the update of the policy.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
All right, we'll have a little bit more of a discussion about kind of committee roles and stuff during our board comments section. All right, item 7.1, public hearing on the 2026 budget and fund transfer. Tony?
Yeah, so one of the requirements of passing a budget each year is that the Board of Education must hold a public hearing. and publish notice of the same. And often in recent years, we've also been doing fund transfers, and so there's also a requirement that before funds are transferred, or monies are transferred between funds, that we hold a public hearing. So this evening, we'll hold a public hearing for both of those topics. But before we do, I will give you an opportunity to see what's changed in the budget since we saw it last month, just recap that at a very high level, and then hear from the public, if any, and then I will then take any of that feedback that's offered by the board or the public and incorporate that as best we can into the budget, and we'll present the full budget for board approval at your meeting in August. And we'll be done talking about the 2026 budget, and we'll move on to the 2027 budget right in the next month after. All right.
So much for starting this process early.
Very exactly. Yeah, we're just finishing. So at a glance, there's some updated numbers here. Not much has changed, but total expenditures have gone up by about $2 million. One that reflects changes in the acquisition of 812 Main Street that the Board of Education approved last month, assuming that goes through as planned. And there's been some other revisions to operating revenue and expenditures. They're just kind of some small changes to reflect changes in our staffing plan and other refinements. So overall, we're doing a $14 million transfer from operating funds into our capital projects fund, which I'll cover in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. Overall, this is a $9.9 million change in fund balance, so we're spending about $10 million more than we're taking in this fiscal year. 10.8 of that fund balance change is amongst our operating funds. Now, this is planned. This is for our warm, safe, dry. We're spending some of the money essentially in our bank account to improve our schools on one-time expenditures. This is not a structural imbalance. As a matter of fact, we'll pay off all of our debt in 2026. We'll be completely debt-free by January. And the taxes in 2026, at least the taxes that are imposed by the school board, will go down by about 10% for the average homeowner. So that's good news.
They're, to clarify, like the percentage of their tax bill will go down, but their actual bill.
Well, as you know, there are a number of taxing bodies who levy, and we don't have any control over what the other taxing bodies do, but we certainly have control over what we do. And so the school board's portion of the average Batavian's tax bill will go down by 10%.
Relative to what it would have been otherwise, not necessarily relative to your last year's tax bill, because if your house value goes up and it's reassessed, that changes all the math all over again.
That's true too. There are many, many factors. Thanks
so-
for pointing that out.
I just bring that up because people get their tax bill and say, well, my bill didn't go down.
And it very well may not, but the tax rate that is imposed by the school board will go down. The rate, not necessarily the overall bill. So that's a more precise statement. Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry.
We just don't want
Not at all.
coming
Not at
back
all.
at you complaining.
This is an overall view of all of our funds together, so this is the totality of our budget. For the prior 3 years, fiscal year 2025, which just ended, fiscal year 2026, which just started on July 1st, and then a forecast for the next 3 fiscal years. The blue bars represent revenue, the green bars represent expenditures, and the yellow line that's drawn across them are fund balance over that time frame. And you can see that, through I would say the COVID years, we were saving more money. We were spending less than we were taking in, but that is kind of quickly changing, especially because we're spending more on our schools as we must to keep them quite literally warm, safe, and dry, the barest of bare essentials. And we're drawing on our fund balances, or the money in our bank account, to do that. We're also drawing on our operating revenue as well too, so we're putting both operating costs each year and fund balance toward that cost. It's in 2025 dollars, I think we estimated it to be $48 million, and that number with each passing day, it seems, goes up because of inflation and costs that bear on the economy and tariffs and those sorts of things. It's getting very expensive to do this work. Here's a very similar summary with our operating funds. These are our education fund, our operations and maintenance fund, and our transportation fund and working cash. So these are what we consider the funds that we require to operate the school district on a given day. Same scenario, but you see in red other financing, and those are the transfers from those funds into capital projects, and that's what's drawing down in particular those fund balances. As I mentioned earlier, we're transferring money between funds. In particular, and this is one of the reasons why we're holding the public hearing this evening, we're moving $10 million from the education fund to the capital projects fund to fund that Warm Safe Dry project, and another $4 million, actually $4,048,000 from the operations and maintenance fund to the capital projects fund. This is a summary of basically everything that I just said, but noting that while we do expect a modest surplus in 2027, that would be the next fiscal year, not the one we're talking about this year. It'll be roughly balanced in 2028, but there will be a deficit in 2029 if we continue on these current trends. And so we're going to need to be cautious. We expect that we're going to lose this year alone something like $1.2 million in state categoricals. We talked about this last month. Is the state, while they're fully funding what's called the evidence-based funding formula, they're not putting additional money into reimbursements for transportation or special education. So the same amount of money is going in there into that pot in this coming fiscal year for the state of Illinois, and the costs that districts are seeking to reimburse are going up. So that means there's less money going around for everybody, and for us, that means a loss of about $1.2 million. We're also seeing instability in federal aid. There's questions about title funds and Medicaid and so forth. It's really unclear what's going to happen. We don't expect a significant impact for those funds in 2026, but there will likely be an impact in 2027 and beyond. Meanwhile, we're seeing rising costs in terms of delivering services to our students that exceed inflation, so that puts additional pressure on us. We're very proud of our new contract with BESPA. We're hoping that will address some staffing shortages, in particular for paraprofessionals. We're seeing some movement on that, as Steve mentioned earlier. We still have vacancies we're eager to fill. Enrollment is stable. After many, many years of declining enrollments, we don't expect much change. It should roughly stay the same this year, but we do have a study underway to do analysis on that, both in the future and whether, capacity of our schools. And one thing that we can boast is that we're going to continue to make progress on our capital plan without new debt. Now, our capital plan is quite literally maintaining the barest of essentials. We're not improving our schools for modern-day education and the evolving needs that come with those, but we're keeping them warm, safe, and dry. So we do have more work to do on that front in the future. Some information, historical, enrollment's down 7% since 2020. We do expect it to be stable ahead, if not slightly increasing. Staffing will increase slightly to 703 FTE. Class sizes will remain very stable at about 23 on average. The tax rate, as we discussed a few moments ago, is dropping by 10% this year. The tax rate, not tax bills per se. We'll retire all of our debt in 26. And we are making progress on the Warm Safe Dry plan, but with these increased costs and other revenue pressures that we're facing, we might have to extend the timeline from 5 years to something beyond. Questions that I can answer for you?
I'm not hearing any, so.
No? And is there any member here from the public wishing to address the board this evening and share their feedback on either the budget or the fund transfers?
Hearing none.
All right, so next steps for us is we'll make some more revisions to this budget, fill out the last aspects of it, and present that in final form to you at your regular meeting next month.
When you're about ready to present it though, can you send an email just saying this is what you're gonna be voting on Tuesday before the, yeah, I don't know, there's a link to it.
Yeah,
You just tell us,
before the
like,
board
hey,
book?
yeah,
Like as soon as it's done?
well, yeah, that'd be nice,
So
if possible.
yeah, we could do that. I'm not sure, it's never really ever fully done. We're always tinkering with it right up until the last minute. But when it's substantially complete, I'll certainly be happy to let you know.
Thank you.
Tony, thanks, and thanks to everybody who put their hands in the pot to make this budget put together. I do want to note, There was a question from the board that was submitted about the federal landscape that Tony alluded to a little bit about funding and what those impacts are. And as Tony kind of stated, the immediate impact is pretty minimal for us. But actually, I just read a ISB update from Dr. Sanders, from our state superintendent. And he is highlighting and sharing some updated information that if the trend that Tony identified, where our mandatory categorical reimbursements continue to be reduced by the state to compensate for some of the other aspects that the state's initiatives are trying to fund for public education, it actually could, as a secondary effect, have a larger effect on our funding, if you understand what I'm saying. So to fund the EBF component, the state reduced mandatory categorical reimbursements. If it gets deeper, that will have an impact on us. And if that's a result of what they have to do because federal funds are being frozen, there's a ripple effect in all of it. So,
When you say impact, Tom, could you elaborate on what you're referring to?
well, like other districts are much heavier reliant on Title I and Title II funding, for example, right? It's not as impactful for us, but there are districts not too far from us here even who rely on those funds, and that's a flow through. But if Illinois, their funding from the federal government is frozen for those title funds, Illinois has to still then look for some options to support their schools that might fall under certain tiers, whereas we are in Tier 4, so we feel kind of the brunt of that response, right? Not intentional. I'm not trying to say that that's intentional. That's just what happens. Tony, did I misspeak on that? It's pretty
No,
accurate.
it's an important point. I'm glad you made it. Thank you. Yeah, when things move as significantly as they have in the last several months, there tends to be turbulence, and then these things kind of jostle one another, and we're going to have to be thinking about their potential impacts, how their interdependencies, and how they're going to bump into each other. There are a lot of assumptions that are built into this forecast, a lot. And some will come true, and perhaps many of them won't. But we'll need to keep refining those assumptions as we learn more, so that we can continue to paint or pick up the pattern. We can foresee the pattern as time unfolds. So
Hence the aforementioned tinkering you are continually doing to the budget.
that's right.
All right? Nothing we have to do to formally close the hearing or anything?
No.
Just buried it within our meeting? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, item 8.1, right?
8.1?
Yeah, item 8.1, DMG recommendation for Board of Education goal monitoring. Tom, can you see this?
Yes. All right, so just to kind of bring us back a little bit, Board, in your packets are the revised presentations. These were this is the work that was sent to you a little bit over a month ago, but to kind of refresh our memories a little bit, since it has been a little bit since we've talked as a group together about it. On May 20th, we had a presentation here, and Simone is actually here tonight with us. Thank you, Simone, for being here. Simone's not speaking tonight because she did her presentation, and she did, work with me and several of you as individuals in terms of gathering your feedback, some of your thoughts, anything that you were concerned about or wanted to make sure you were kind of able to check off and knowing what question you had, right? So we took all that feedback, inserted certain aspects of that into our monitoring plan and the goals. And so right now, where we're at is hoping that tonight the board feels comfortable, having had some questions answered, and being able to approve your monitoring power goals for the district. And part of the reason for this is, as we mentioned before, we are needing this as a district to help us understand how to monitor our progress with you, how to make sure that we're staying the course as an entire school district. When buildings are working towards certain objectives or initiatives, that they're staying on track and have that North Star that you as a board have put and planted for everybody. So as far as goal setting, You know, these are the board's high-level goals, organizationally speaking. When we talk about the measurement, we had included aspects that the board, I'm pulling up my copy as well. Apologies, 1 second. So if you take a look at slide 17. Okay. So we identified the priorities and the metrics, all right? None of this has changed. This all stayed as was presented at the May board meeting. Then moving, and if you can see all the priorities, if you take a look at our data, one of the big things that we are working towards starting and launching right now for this year is the ELA curriculum, and obviously there's monitoring goals there for the board around our ELA components and data. We're taking a look at our national and state assessments to use as comparators for how our progress is looking as a school district. As a reminder, the state will be entering into year 2 of its use of the ACT. So as we build more historical data, we will have the ability to kind of have a longer range of comparative analysis on our progress. Yeah, so, and then one of the last things we'll mention is we anticipate, as Simone had stated in May, you know, with a new reading curriculum, in particular for our K through 5 programming, that year 1 most likely could see an implementation dip. But given the amount of support and collaboration that went into it and the training and preparation for professional development, we think that once we get through that initial implementation phase, we'll see a lot of good work and progress happening, more comfortability with the program. All right. All right.
That time, sorry to interrupt you while it's top of mind, but so like, this year piloting is not the right word.
No, field test.
Field test, that's right, field test. So if that goes well, then next academic year, we would implement across the district, right? So that would be the year you might see more of a dip, correct or incorrect?
Possibly.
Because this is a pretty small sample size of the field tests.
Yeah, there's 22 teachers that are participating in field test. I think we added 2 more since we talked about this last time, so about 24 staff members doing that at the elementary. And again, we're trying not to rush it, but there is a sense of urgency for our students to have this type of learning in their classrooms. We really have empowered the ELA SALT team, which is a group of teachers and administrators, to look at the data as it comes in from the field test and start to make decisions about what's next. So Tom and I aren't a part of that, but you know, we're kind of listening on the side to see like what is the timing that they're thinking would be doable. So we're kind of in a waiting period to see how successful this field test is going to be before we start talking about full implementation. There's a potential that it could start during this school year.
I like the budget. There may have to be tweaking and adjustments as we go along. If things are moving at quicker and progressing quicker than we anticipated, you know, we could look at that faster. Okay, under this slide, if you take a look at the bottom, this was actually the additional feedback around our board power goals and metrics for accountability, monitoring, and part of our biannual reporting for the board. So that we would ensure that everything we're doing and taking a look at is not just recognizing what is working, but also understanding and analyzing what hasn't been working. Where are we not progressing in certain areas where historically predictable achievement gaps might be occurring? And that has been at the forefront of what we're trying to do and tackle to make sure we eliminate that predictability, right? And eliminate those trends. So that's under this particular slide. Those targets under the red box are all the same from the last presentation, last time you saw this in May. Right? Okay. And And then this is in reference to the use of the ACT as the assessment.
Yeah.
And then under strategic priority 2, you had heard Brad and others, and some of my, I think my weekly updates to you have alluded to the fact that, you know, we had switched over to Panorama in our use for students, and part of the reason we had done that was it allowed students to have their own agency and provide how they are doing, right? Prior to the use of Panorama, it was more, with the previous product or tool we used, it was driven by teacher observations and teacher perceptions. So now we're getting student voice in it. One of the things that we're gonna use moving forward is we're in the works right now of looking at how we can do something similar and triangulate that data by incorporating students, or excuse me, parents and teacher voice as well, to take a look from all different angles about how our sense of belonging looks like. One of the things I did want to point out, and I don't know if I did as good of a job as I could have back in May when we went through this presentation, is this. These things to me don't sit in isolation of each other, right? A student who feels like they belong in school is also a student who feels like they're a learner, right? When you talk about the academic setting in our schools, and that's why we don't say just learning is one goal, this is one goal. Like, it all does work together, and it's really important that we look at it as such. Really similar to the presentation we heard from Amy and Kelly earlier today, right? Even just the mere fact that we're trying to do everything we can to prevent students from feeling excluded from school by the exclusion date, right? They're being removed from an academic setting. And by something, in most cases, is not in a kid's control, right? And that's unfortunate. As a former building principal, that was like the worst day I ever experienced, because I hated that list that I would get of who had to be spoken with. Because I knew, you know, I was a middle school principal, this wasn't on the kids, right? So I really applaud the efforts that our teams are making to try and do what we can to reach out to more and more families and get them taken care of, so that that's like checked off and you don't even have to worry about it when the school starts. Okay, so having said that, as you know, we have a new baseline coming in with Panorama, so we're gonna continue to build our data, but Panorama itself is a nationally used tool, so we do have nationally normed results that we can rely on as well. For parents and for staff, we're gonna probably have to incorporate a little bit, Brad, help me if we're incorporating 5 essentials until we actually phase out, right? With some of the historical norms,
Yeah,
to some
we're gonna
extent.
look at those questions. There's gonna be a couple of teams looking at this. A couple of questions that we think are really important from the 5 essentials that we can carry in. We can modify and add those onto the surveys. So we're looking at that as well. So there'll be a couple of teams involved, student services, I believe, and equity. I wish Natalie was here because she's gonna lead that process, but I believe those 2 teams are gonna weigh in on the different surveys that are available and which one is a real fit for Batavia, and we'll help triangulate this data so we can trust what the students say and look at, is it lining up with what the parents say and what the staff is saying as well.
So under this particular area, there was a couple of questions that board members had about what does the data collection and reporting look like? And this will again be one of those aspects of our presentation that we give you in this coming year to show what those breakdowns look like. How are we doing there? I think as a board, one of the things I wanted to relieve any concern is, as a strategic plan, the strategic plan is also built that we're able to be nimble and responsive. If things are working, how do we adjust to that? When things aren't working, how do we adjust to that and be responsive to what's not happening or what's not working? And the data is fortunately gonna be what helps us drive that understanding and that conversation. So one of the things, for example, a new update that's coming is we just announced that they'll be holding a webinar for administrators and districts at the end of the month of July, because there are some new reporting formats and requirements that they're going to be introducing and sharing with all 851 public school districts, because that's a part of what we're required to share. And so that's like one of those aspects where, the data that we collect doesn't go away, because that's still a part of our district report card and our school building report cards. Okay. All right. Then, under the last priority, but not least, right, they're all priorities, we had our operational excellence and measurable goals here. As part of our annual targets, those are the scores that keep us in the category we're at now. So even though we're scoring a near perfect score, or a perfect score, there's room for us. Now, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding, there's an example, I didn't want to bring it up during your presentation, but I'll bring it up here. You could see our financial profile score actually take a small dip. That's completely out of our control, because one aspect of the score that's impacted is how we are doing with our fund balance.
Yeah, as we spend down fund balance,
Our score gets impacted a little bit.
if we go below 25%, there's a pretty significant impact on that. Also, the days cash on hand is another factor. I will, in the final version of the budget, model out what I think that's going to be for the current year and future years. So you have an idea, but I'm modeling it out based off of certain assumptions that I don't have all the data that necessarily the state of Illinois uses. So, but I will have an estimate of that.
Is that pretty prescriptive? Like, if you're not hitting fund balance, it's a certain point off. If you're not having a certain amount of cash on hand, it's a certain, 0.5 off, or is it a little more oddly subjective?
It's not subjective, it's very objective, and there are ranges for, it's relative to, for example, your fund balance is relative to your overall revenue.
Right.
And it's for a certain subset of funds, and if the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund is negative, then that one counts, but if it's not negative, it doesn't count, stuff like that. But, it is very objective.
So those are the three priority areas. You saw the goals. And I think one of the other questions that came in is, well, what happens if we miss the goal, right? Or what happens if we are not continually approaching the target, right? That was a great question. And what happens for us, and this was part of the training that DMG did with our district coordinating council, is that we run through our protocols to start analyzing, why is this happening, right? And we as a team have to start digging into that and say, why aren't we coming closer and closer to approaching certain numbers that we've set as a target that the board set as our power goals? And that breakdown then leads to us presenting that to you in our reports, so that you as a board are made aware of that as well. Because, again, we'll be presenting the progress or possibly lack of, and we'll have, for us, that's our responsibility to explain that to you. And the efforts that we're making to try and either course correct or boost and amplify, because we're seeing good stuff there, and we know that if we keep digging into it more and investing in it more, we'll see even better results. So tonight, what we're asking the board is to approve the power goals, as a reminder that it's the power goals that have been outlined and presented here in the presentation, that we're asking the board to approve. When that happens, if you as a board feel comfortable taking the vote tonight and approving, then our next step immediately is to start finalizing our data dashboard and get that up and live. Part of the dashboard still requires us to display our district's report card and our building report cards. So that data that's available on our website doesn't disappear either.
And we said twice a year, right, that we would do
Correct.
this review of the data?
And that's one of those things we said separating out to a separate meeting so it could be focused on.
So after, let's say that we approve this tonight, when would be the first presentations to us? Would that be in like the December, January?
We did November buildings, December district this past year. If you remember, those were, I believe, on top of your regular business board meeting, right? It was the spring, that second semester, that we moved them off that night, so I think that probably did better for everybody.
So, I'm just saying, would we still do November, let's just say an extra board meeting in November and December, or would we do?
Or we could go, one building night in December and one building night, or night in December for district, right, and do them both in December. But then I guess we'll have to determine your scheduling capacity as a board, if you can handle 3 board meetings in the month of December. which I realize could be tough. So then we may stick with that November, December format and just move them to a separate night.
Can I ask what the feedback from the buildings was with the breakout? Did they prefer that than having it as part of a general meeting, the principals? Did you get feedback?
I don't know.
Just
I'm,
curious.
I'm not entirely sure. We have an administrative retreat coming. I could certainly gather some feedback for you all.
You at least didn't get any kind of negative feedback about it?
No,
Just,
what I heard, was that, quite frankly, teachers were really excited to have an opportunity to present what the building's doing, right? Like, I think people wanna talk about what they're doing, things that are going really well, and then, people were a little nervous, having to acknowledge that there were still some blind spots or just areas of gaps that aren't growing the way they hoped for. And you heard that in the presentation, right? They acknowledged that, and I just, everyone's in education because their heart wants to help. So nobody wants to see that kind of result when it's not meeting the mark.
I also imagine the first time you're really presenting it that way, that's a
Yes,
hard time.
yes,
The
our.
second or third time, eventually you start looking for things you wanna fix if they're getting better, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say, for me, as a board member, what was really, I thought, productive was the first time where we had a goal, people kind of, like at the buildings, they said, we thought we were gonna be here. They had the data, there was always a few successes, there was always a few areas where we fell short. And so like, we were like addressing those, and they were even discussing strategies. And I think, as I recall, it was a while ago, but like, with like the panorama, like they were then re-engaging the students, because it's like, we're perceiving one thing, oh, this isn't really what is happening from the student perspective. And now it sounds like this upcoming academic year, we're also gonna start getting input from parents and guardians as well.
parents, guardians, and then, teachers.
So it's
staff.
another tier of, so I think that's how you improve, because we're saying like, yeah, this is the goal, we didn't get there. We gotta implement some new strategies, so I think it's very valuable.
I think it was interesting, I don't remember if it was in the winter or the spring, but for the elementaries, like, they all had the same
The dip in the winter, right?
And I think it was the winter one.
The winter blahs, yeah, everybody's. So I think it's very productive to have these twice a year, and then, but what I really like is understanding, like, acknowledging where we're falling short, and then, the first step to improving is acknowledging it's not working, coming up with new strategies to improve.
And the importance of these kind of, what's the terminology, why I can't remember it? The power goals, so that there's consistency amongst what is being reported to us. So there's not that accusing anybody would do it, kind of cherry picking things to kind of talk about one thing versus another and craft a certain story. That's kind of, to me, that's from our perspective, at least my perspective, the importance of the power goal concept.
Maybe this is for Tom. On page 5 of this one, the summary of questions and responses. Item A, right at the top, it says language was added to goals around student well-being to ensure that the board has information related to specific student populations and that achievement gaps are monitored and are addressed. Language was added to goals of the power goals, or where was that?
I'm sorry, which document are you looking at?
Sorry, the questions and answers, yeah, you got it right.
Is it question
The
3?
question is, yeah,
It's question 3.
question, can we build in our most marginalized populations into our goals? And the answer was yes, language was added. So I'm wondering where that language was added.
Was that the block that was added at the bottom that you mentioned earlier?
Was that in the updated, this, okay. Hold on,
That bottom one there.
not that. Get out of here. Oops.
So your question primarily, is this a power
Where
goal
was the?
language, or is it added at the
Yes, or
school
what-
level?
Yes, which goals was it added to, and which groups?
Yes, so that is, if you take a look at this box right here, this is a part
Yes.
of what we will report to you. And that we'll take a look at those various groups and provide that in our presentation to the board.
Those groups being any group that shows a gap in achievement or whatever, okay.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So that's more of a commitment that this is where you're gonna bring up that information to share it out.
Yeah.
It's not specifically written in the power goal, but this is how you're gonna support the power goal by showing.
Well,
this
yeah,
data.
but yes,
That's
right,
what I'm
it's the
saying.
commitment, this is going to be part of that data monitoring around that power goal, and this will be part of the presentation that we will provide with you, for you. Kind of goes back to that comment I made about us taking a look at, are we making progress with particular groups of students that we know that our data has been showing we should have a continued effort and focus on.
And are we saying those groups, or are we just sort of like waiting to see if somebody asks us about them, or are we saying, no, we already acknowledge?
So actually, great question, Katie. The groups that we identified are based on the data presentation we did at the June 25th board meeting.
Okay.
June 25th. Brad had displayed several charts on 2 slides, I believe it was,
Yeah.
of the various groups of different populations of students that we know we need to be watching. And actually, that was not just on the academic component, it was also on our disciplinary practices in the district as well. So.
So my understanding is that the data presented will look very similar, but we will be more focused on what the data, whether the data supports the targets that we've established now.
And these targets were created, the DCC committee was aligned with these goals?
Yes, so part of that was DMG consulting with us, but that consultation took place with our district coordinating council.
Could you, just for anyone watching, share who comprises that committee?
It is the co-chairs from the administration and the BEA for CAC, PLAC, RAC, and CAC.
Said that one already.
Did I say
Black
that
and
one?
red.
Yeah, so.
Did I get them all already then?
You got 'em all.
Okay, no, okay. Sorry.
And the co-chairs are admin and
A
a
BEA
teaching
leader.
BEA leader. Other questions?
I don't really know if I have a question. I think I've come back to this, thank you for all of the updates and listening to the feedback, because I do have, I looked it over, I didn't request on one-on-one, I didn't really have any questions, based on what we got. I think what I've communicated at different times is I'm still a little stuck, and I don't know if I'm being stubborn and maybe there's feedback, but I'm a little confused because I know as a board member, you're setting goals, I'm not part of that, but we are the vision, like we are the people who decide what the vision of the district is, right? And I'm really confused because we've never actually, my time on the board, in my 2 years, we've never actually spoken as a board, to decide what that is. We've never really come together, and that is something that I've asked for before voting on this. Is for us to have a really detailed discussion, like, does this work represent what we all feel, the 7 of us feel, this district aligns with our vision for the district? I know some of it for me does, but like we've kind of talked about and what Simone had kind of pointed out was, we don't want to have a bunch of different things and be looking to different places, but in the end, we've still never have actually had board input on anything, really. We're coming in and we're saying, hey, we have questions about this, you've addressed that, but as far as like a deep discussion, like we didn't meet with DMG as a board to actually discuss the district itself. We had the workshop, but it had nothing to do with the district, and how we view the district as board members, or what we're hopeful for the future of the district. And so this was all put together for us, and we've provided feedback on that, but to me, I don't know that it represents what individually I would see as being the important vision, but I know I'm one of 7. But I'm kind of confused on why we've never been able to have a full board discussion. And that goes back to the strategic plan. I think I was the sole, like, the one no vote. I had asked to have a pushback and whatnot because we did not have board discussion. And I think that's been my feedback along a lot of things is, I want to talk to you guys. We are the board of the district. I want to have a full discussion on what is important to us individually and come together to collaborate. And I just don't know, I just personally don't feel like we've been able to collaborate as a board. We've collaborated with you, Tom, with Simone, with like other places, but really not together. So I get stuck on that. I'm not asking that everyone is bothered by it. I just wanted to vocalize it, that that's kind of where I appreciate all the work and I don't want a potential vote to take away from that because it is important and it does help, I think, a lot. And these presentations have been amazing from you all, from the schools, from our teams, and they've been really helpful, and I think that's part of it, but I feel that I still am stuck on, like, the board really is I just kind of feel like the board is being told this is what you should do, but not actually like, hey, is this what we really want to do? And we really haven't had the space for it, so that's my only feedback, really.
Any other comments or questions? Does everybody feel like they have enough information to make a vote? There's yes, no,
Yes,
or
I do.
abstain?
Yes.
Okay. So, I will, hearing no other questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the final recommendations from GMG Group as, DM Group. I don't know why I keep saying DMG Group, sorry. DMG Group, see, I did it again, DM Group as presented. Wow. All right.
So moved.
You're good, or you want to read the whole thing over again, let's clean it up. All right, so moved by Aaron,
Second.
second by Rob. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Meadows,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Arlandu,
Yes.
Sliger,
No.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Garrels,
Yes.
Spaciki.
No.
All right, motion passes, thank you very much. All right. Tom, administration comments, would you like to share anything this evening?
As you know, we're kind of probably, at this point, for several of us, summer is kind of over. Any feeling of summer is over. And I just want to express thanks to everybody who's been working to get our district ready to go. There's a lot of work still ahead of us with the short amount of time. That window is shrinking on us. A little bit of thanks to our operations and facilities crews, and Mark and his team, and Dave and Josh. I mean, the behind the curtain scenes, and then also, as you know, we have a lot of curricular initiatives. So it's big thanks to all of our leadership and the teachers and staff that have been working really hard to get us ready. Hopefully they're getting a little bit of downtime before we get rolling. And then, board, just as a reminder, you're more than welcome and invited to attend our August 11th Opening Institute Day, so my apologies. And we hope, if you can make it, we'd love to have you there. And then moving forward, I will make sure that I'm keeping you in the loop on legal and legislative updates that continue. Fall veto session will be coming. We anticipate more education bills to come back into the chambers for discussion. So we had approximately 50 education-related bills passed. There may be more, we'll see. So, other than that, I hope you as a board have also had some downtime, so, that's it.
Can I ask you really quick for the August 11th, for opening day, what is the time for that?
You know what, I'll send you,
Okay.
I'll send you the times, I'll send it all to you.
Okay.
Yep, I think I only gave you the
Has
day.
to, like, more information about times.
You got it.
What
I think I
Thank you.
dropped by last year for a little bit at least,
Yeah.
before everybody went into the BFAT to do all the fun stuff.
You were there.
You were there, yeah. It's like the first day of school for the teachers, so
Yeah,
it's fun to
Okay.
see that.
I'll send it to you.
all right. Board comments. Would anybody like to make any closing comments or questions or discussion points? So, can start with whomever would like, and we can go from there.
I can go first.
Okay.
I feel like my comments, guys, are a little serious today, so I'm just gonna read off of the screen, because I did take the time to prepare, my comments, for today. I'd like to start with the understanding this is not meant to be a political statement or to be taken as me giving direction to anyone here, okay? So put that out there. In my experience, both personal and in community, even just in the news in general, this summer has been heavily impacted by various bills, which we've kind of had hit on some, but, and decisions by the leaders of this country. Some of which have already affected our community, and many members of the community that are or will be affected are those who are in protected classes and marginalized groups. No matter their home or family, the children of our community have been exposed to big thoughts and feelings of hate, anxiousness, instability, feelings of divisiveness at a level they may have never experienced before. Even if parents and community have attempted to protect them, the news and current events will always make their way to our kids. I'm calling attention to this because this is something I firmly believe we need to understand and keep front and center, especially as we return to school. This is something we need to be ready for and take seriously. Our data indicates our peer-to-peer belonging is typically amongst the lowest of all data points. How will the weight of the world affect them, especially in this area? And I think it's necessary to urge students, staff, families, and friends to be aware, and if you see or hear anything, please say something. Support our community in feeling safe to report as a victim or a bystander. Our administration can't help or support or understand needs if things aren't being reported by students in the community. It's imperative that we encourage and support each other to do this. Our board and administration have worked to hopefully improve accessing information regarding reporting and understanding procedures. I implore this community to use the resources to make reports, whether in person or anonymously. For the adults in this community, please do not dismiss hateful words and behavior simply as them just being a kid or they're just joking. Take them seriously and let's work to dive into things and prioritize discussions and education around these events. Please know that you should feel empowered to keep pushing on an issue until you feel it's being taken seriously and or resolved. Use a chain of command and the resources that we have, and let administration know if the resources aren't helpful or clear. Your feedback is so valuable. I really appreciate the space to say this because as a Latina, I have come to truly understand the saying, death by 1,000 cuts. What that means is that it's often not the loudest or most attention-grabbing events that hurt the most. Oftentimes, it's the names here or there, the jokes, the demeaning and belittling behavior that happens in quick passings or in social media comments, or even as being witnessed as a bystander. Those are still bullying and harassment and have a huge impact. These are the children of our community. They deserve humanity and our protection, no matter who they are, how they identify, what they look like, or how they got here. They all belong here, and how they exist and experience life in our buildings is such a great and precious responsibility of every one of us here. Thank you for allowing me to voice this concern, and with that, I truly hope the rest of summer break has so many more moments of joy and relaxation for everyone.
Thank you, well said. Thank you. Katie?
Yeah, I have a few things. Are you gonna talk about committee
I'll do the committee
stuff?
thing, so you don't have to worry about
Okay.
that.
Since the state cell phone ban did not pass, correct? Is the board interested in our admin, this is a suggestion by me, reaching out to St. Charles admin to ask about their very recent cell phone restrictions, how they started and how they're faring? Is that something that the board would be interested in?
So that's part of one of our policies that's
Okay.
It's
coming up.
coming.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
already being worked on?
We're gonna,
So, already in our current policy, so elementary, it's kinda like, this is not allowed.
Yeah, right.
In RMS, it's a gradual step. So this year will be the first year where cell phones are not allowed in classrooms, only in the lunchrooms. And then high school, we didn't really touch upon high school.
it kind of mirrored the middle, what that was, except if a teacher made an exception too, like get your phones out, we're gonna use technology now.
Yeah,
But it was not allowed in the classrooms unless expressly,
right, like if
Is
it's
that
part of a
correct, Dr.
lesson.
Newkirk?
If it's a part of a lesson plan,
right.
Right.
so that's how it is gonna be for this school year.
Okay, and we'll see that in the policy
That'd be-
updates and
yep.
stuff like that? Okay, all right. Also, oh, you know what, actually, this might go back to you too as well. So you had talked about procedures being part of that as well. In our minutes that we just approved, we updated our polling procedure, which is kind of what I'm doing right now, which is polling the board. Does that get updated somewhere that we said officially in our minutes, if a board member wants to gauge interest from other board members?
Because that's more of a, so we only do administration procedures, if I'm right. We don't do
Yeah,
board
Okay.
procedures.
Okay, so then where are board procedures recorded, updated, disseminated?
Isn't it like that one sheet that you always?
Yeah, that was in it. There's not a specific set of board procedures for everything.
Best practice.
The way it has historically been is you kind of evolve procedures, I think, for what kind of works with this group
Sure.
and this makeup of this group.
Sure.
So like the polling process that kind of had occurred in before got convoluted or complicated or didn't work, so we're amending it to this. You know, and if everybody's kind of like, hey, I like this idea that Katie can kind of bring up, are people interested in this? And then I think this was a great example with the phone thing is, oh no, there's some information coming
Yeah,
on
okay.
that we wouldn't have otherwise known. So
Right.
I don't think there's a specific like written board.
But if we
procedures
were
process.
gonna, if we were, let's say we all forgot what our procedure was, how
Yeah,
would we look it up?
It's a fair question.
Like if I said, wait a minute, I forgot, how do I pull the board? And you all said, I don't remember, where would we look?
When we had our last with,
A workshop kind of.
yes,
Yeah.
our workshop.
Yeah,
I think the follow-up was she sent, this is your guys' notes, and this was the updated board protocol.
Protocols, which is kind of a different terminology for procedure.
was it in there?
I wanna say it was.
I don't remember. So let's check against that.
We can check.
Okay, yeah, I would like it to be so that if anybody's ever like, what is your procedure? We're not all going, I don't know what the procedure is, or
That's
I
fair.
don't know how to find the procedure.
Yeah, and I think it's, instead of a procedure, I think it's called protocols on the board.
Okay,
file.
okay.
So I think that's a
Let me make
great
a
place
note.
to kind of record it.
And I'll look back at that too, because I don't remember that specifically being in there, but that could very well be. Okay, thank you.
That sounds like it kind of should be.
Yeah,
Right,
it
well,
should be.
yeah, just like, so, again, like, let's just say, I ask, you don't know, we should have somewhere to look, right? You are gonna talk about committees. Okay, that was it. In the minutes for our last meeting, we had said that my secretarial board meeting follow-up is a board document to be maintained by me. And we said board members would reach out to me for corrections to it. Cindy, I apologize, I created work for you on our first try with that, so this go around, I'm gonna wait longer before I send my follow-up, and I just wanted to make that clear. So I just wanted to state that I apologize, I created a bunch of work for you, and that was not my intention. And that's all I've got. I hope everybody is enjoying their summer. It felt like school was far away last week, and now this week it feels like it's tomorrow. So, yeah, so here we are. And thank you so much for your presentation and Kelly's as well. That was lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
In regards to the document that you maintain, would it be helpful if during the meeting, if there's something that, like, oh, so we all need to, by August 12th, provide feedback?
I wrote that down, but yes, I think it's always helpful if you hear something to go, hey, Katie, did you get that in the
Yeah,
follow-up?
I think we
100%.
probably may need to develop our protocol.
We
For
are.
helping Katie, as she's recording things, to know. I talked about it a little bit in our workshop of like, what's the difference between a direction and a recommendation?
Right.
Like because sometimes things come out as a point of discussion that says, oh, do this, and then, and I emailed on it as a little bit of a, hey, I need a clarification. We talked about, like, we would go, do we want, I'm gonna segue a bit into committee, but I'll go back to that when it's my turn. Like, do we want us to reach out to the committee chairs and find out the board position on those if they feel it's important or valid? Yes, that was a to-do list thing, but also just seconds later or minutes later, someone said, well, kind of what are they gonna tell us? No, don't show up. So I just wanna make it, we might need to make sure we make it very clear as to what is the final direction because things evolved during conversations a bit. And that was something that was kind of a little, at least when Tom and I were talking about kind of working through the things, as a bit of a confusion point as to what got left. So I'm gonna defer the rest of the committee conversation to the end from my part, unless somebody else brings it up. Kristen?
I was just gonna give a shout out to the, Batavia Activity Foundation. So they're the ones that run all the summer camps. And, you know, it's a lot of our high school teachers that run these camps. And my kids have done the Encore music camps, and there's a fashion camp, and a digital art camp, a cooking camp. And the fact that my kids, who are, you know, elementary, middle school, get to have camps with these high school teachers is just amazing. And I just wanted to give a shout out. They're great.
So shout out done.
Yeah.
Rob?
Not too much this month. Just hope everyone's having a relaxing summer and look forward to getting going next month.
I don't really have anything, just, with the weather, just be careful, stay hydrated, go to cooling centers if we don't have AC, enjoy the rest of the summer.
I'll give a shout out at the middle school last week. They had band orchestra camp. I think I saw you there, Kristen. They had a concert. A lot of great energy. They really put on an amazing show. So yeah, that's sort of getting us back in the groove of the calendar year. And just, I want to say thank you to everybody that's working very hard to prepare us for that first day of instruction. It's a million things that have to go right. You know, the buses, everything. I know the teachers I always tell my kids, it's the first day for the teachers too. All the feelings you're feeling, they are feeling the same thing. So I just want to wish them luck, thank them for their hard work, and I'm excited for August 14th to arrive.
All right. Other than, I'll say my non-committee, so one of the things on committee is put out kind of a little document to people to put in what you kind of ranking and interested. I got a question from one of the board members about how the decision process is kind of made. Frankly, the ranking there is to try to get some level of input of what people might be interested or not, because people have varying levels of, ultimately, I guess I'm the one that's making the decision as to what someone ends up on, but this is a means of giving input without having to kind of sit down and meet with everybody. Can't guarantee everybody will have a first category pick, but I'm trying to keep it in there. Looking like everybody, it will require multiple committees. I know some people have different availabilities, so kind of reach out to me to let me know. I try to do them. If it's multiple committees, it'd be like one monthly one and one kind of quarterly one as see fit. One of the other questions I had put down, DCC and BIC. I couldn't figure out how to take them out of the chart that was in the drop down. So DCC is generally just the kind of an admin committee that historically has not had a committee person on it and hasn't needed one, or a board member. And then BIC, what we did last year was shift it so that there was at least a board coverage at each one. So that way you got everybody a chance to go to there and kind of participate in it and see how it goes and understand a little bit more across the district. So if you're missing the link, let me know. I will resend it out. I just would like it in the next week or so that we can kind of try to get it finalized. So you're smirking over there.
I missed it. I missed it. I'm like, did you send it? I apologize, I'll do it
Okay.
right now.
Yeah. But on that, one of the other things in talking to a couple board members, kind of realized, what is our role on these committees, right? When I first got on, and I've heard from a couple, it was kind of told, you're a silent witness to the events. Sit there, you say nothing, you listen, and then when you come here, you do the committee report, basically. You just regurgitate what was said. I have been on other committees that seem to welcome some level of informational fact-finding, right? And board member thoughts on things so they can feel like they're going in the right direction for what the board may want. So my question to you guys for discussion is, what do you guys want the participation level to be? So that we're at least consistent, or at least kind of recognizing that this is what our participation should be. Because I don't want someone to go into a committee thinking they're supposed to be quiet and everybody's like, no, participate in it. And Tony's smirking at me because I do a terrible job of staying quiet in committee meetings, so.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think if they welcome our comments, then we'll comment.
Okay.
That's like on equity, I didn't say much, right, but if there was some part of the conversation that I maybe had knowledge on or whatever, or was asked, then I'd give, but
Yeah.
these are the experts that we're usually sitting in the room with, so it's usually just listening to them and just listening.
Yeah, I wanted to get a chance to bring it out. The other thing is, probably me being more paranoid than most, right? Our words carry weight, right? We wear a big hat, so when we're in those meetings, it's hard to know whether that's our personal opinion about a matter, or a board opinion about a matter. Are we speaking for the whole board? And technically, we're not, but it's hard to not carry that weight a bit. So we just want to, I guess, as we're in there, bring that into the calculus in your head of, hey, if I say that, I might actually sway them entirely the wrong direction or undercut something they're trying to do. I don't think anybody here has ever done that. It's kind of a discussion point that we've been kind of having to just kind of make sure, like, well, what is it and how should it be, so.
When we introduce ourselves, can we say that? Like, hey, I'm here as a board member, but, any words I have will be my own personal thing, or is there a way for us to maybe just state that the few times that we do talk, this is my personal opinion, it's not representation of the board? But obviously, if they're like, has the board voted on this, I could answer as a board member, right? I feel like it's been easy to kind of,
Ride the line a little bit.
yeah, I think if we just are communicative about that.
I think people, if they ask you for an opinion, you don't speak for the whole board, you're just expressing your opinion.
Right.
So, the committees I've been on, that does, with Josh, that happened a couple times. But, yeah, I think there's an understanding that you don't speak for the board, but if they ask for an opinion, you can give it, right?
There's been times when they said, is there anything else you think the board would
Right.
want to see? And I was like, well, speaking from me, being on the board, I'll tell you, I'm gonna ask this, and I would like to see this, and this. And I'm sure they would too.
Okay, so what I'm basically hearing is
So,
active participation if it's a kind of gathering information or your query, but otherwise everybody seems to be recognizing we're not the experts in that particular room all the time. So sometimes we're there to listen and learn, so.
so do you have like a time frame, Craig, you're hoping to send out these assignments, or proposed assignments?
Well,
I should
whenever
say?
Raquel gets done. No.
Finish?
So 8:30,
Tonight.
you're gonna have it.
There you go. I'm gonna go back and take a look at them. I'll probably confer a little bit with Tom, just to make sure, we're trying to also, so that somebody isn't on the same committee for 3 years in a row, and that, because we want you to get exposure on some other things. But also a couple of things like RAC and the Capital Projects Committee has 2 of us on it. There's, other than the fact that Rob's really good at attending, I was not so much, so it clearly has been well covered by Rob, and just being able to make sure that there's coverage and that we're not overburdening people with things, so. And then also just to kind of touch base with any of the other chairs to make sure they're comfortable with, committee members on there to make sure that, it's a good collaborative process.
I apologize. We're not gonna sit in on DCC?
We haven't historically had a
Right.
position there. And I'm not sure that I felt like it was particularly missed, but if we.
It wasn't missed, my understanding. So DCC got started prior to my arrival, like just before I
Minutes
started.
before. It was a part of the
And
negotiation.
it came out of bargaining, right? And that was a structural, well, you know what, why am I speaking to it? I didn't bargain it. Tony, Brad, Steve, would one of you be willing to kind of explain it, please?
Tony was in the
I
negotiation.
caught them,
Brad's like,
caught
nope.
them off guard.
Guys, one at a time.
Yeah, Brad was not there. DCC was my idea, I'll take credit for that, but the implementation and all that, that's gonna.
I would say it is negotiated as part of the BESPA collective bargaining agreement, and we can't be flippant about just changing the representation on there. It would require.
It was a BEA negotiation too. correct?
Yes.
No, it was I think
What I
you
say?
misspoke.
Vespa.
You said Vespa.
Oh, sorry, I was talking to Vespa earlier, but, no, it was a BEA agreement, I'm sorry, yeah, it is literally written into the BEA contract. And we did consider having a board representative at the time we negotiated it, and we felt as though we would have more candid conversations if you weren't there, to be quite blunt.
So I just wanna know if I need to put it.
No, ignore that one, it was a.
And there you have it.
That's your first choice.
No.
Take that out.
I just put myself on it.
It's not, it's not. And then the second thing, I apologize, are we splitting up BIC again?
Yes, same thing.
Okay.
So you don't put BIC, don't put DCC. We will figure out a way of balancing out, like, who can go to BIC when it meets
Because usually
quarterly.
invite
So,
people to
Yeah.
bid.
yeah, just FYI, BIC, I believe, is the only committee that as board members you sit on, that meets on a Saturday.
Yes.
So just be aware of that for your own calendar purposes, but it's a quarterly meeting. We already have the dates, so if, you know what, I'm sending you the schedule for Institute Day, so I can include what the 4 dates are for, BIC this year. We already have it set up. Cindy, she's awesome. She already invited all the representatives and everything, so I'll give that to you.
And if you want to pick a date, just send it to me, and generally speaking, first come, first serve. It's a
Okay.
good committee, I learned a lot, like,
It's so
sitting on it.
good.
Yeah.
So there's 4 a year,
It's all the
On a Saturday.
PTOs
and
and,
can
And it's-
2 board
Yep.
members be at?
Could, technically, 2 could go.
Okay.
And it lasts 2
Couple
to 3
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
So we don't need to pick. that.
Usually there's coffee,
Okay.
donuts, bagels.
it
something.
goes a while.
It does.
So yes, technically 2 board members could be on it, so wouldn't necessarily have to kick somebody off if it's only 2. That's a good point, Kristen.
So what do you do if 3 of us pick RAC and the 3 of us haven't been on RAC? Do you do like, I don't know if I'm sorry if I missed it, if you addressed it, are you doing like, is it like first come, first serve, is it lottery, how are you deciding something?
Sometimes it's about what other committee coverages there are. So like, if there's 3 people that pick RAC, like first, let's say,
Yeah.
but two picked, one picked CAC, something, and I have nobody else to pick up CAC because if nobody else listed as an interest in it, I may need to shift to that person and pick that. So a lot of times it's kind of self-selects its way through the process, you know?
Yeah,
Short of that, it's not like I throw names in a hat and pull them out and see what happens, you know?
I mean, if it was a reporting role, I was gonna suggest it be just a lottery if it was supposed to be us just sitting there and not participating.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there is a little bit of a need for participation, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay. I think I have enough information to be dangerous. If anybody's got any other questions, feel free to reach out to
Going
me.
in the record? No.
Yeah. And then, you have 4 minutes to finish up your charge.
She's done.
So, all right, my other last comments are, you know, Mark at our last meeting said July 4th was the end of his summer. And I am seeing that in my own household. My wife is coming back from spending time in Colorado. I'm taking a little gap in between when I'm here, trying to make sure I don't screw up the house too much by myself. And then going back for a week vacation next week, and she's coming back right into a set of meetings with her school and district on August 4th. So, we'll be tired because we're driving all 14 hours back in one day, so getting a little old for that, but we'll see how it goes. So everybody, thank you for, you know, like everybody said, all of the work and effort it takes. And Mark and the contractors that I'm sure are very busily hurrying up, trying to get things done and figuring out how to get things in that are supposed to be here weeks ago and whatever else. So we understand all that's a challenge these days. And to all of our teachers and staff that are not working during the summer, or are working on things they would like to work on during the summer, thank you for your time and effort, and enjoy your waning days of your breather break.
I actually have one thing I just thought
Of course you do.
of. Are we,
Almost got out of here by 8:30.
sorry, I got 2 minutes. Are we having a meeting next week to tour the building? Because I thought that was gonna be a public meeting. So that's happening?
Yes. So Cindy has collected all the information. Cindy, you got the invites out? Or-
I got the invites out for the 30th, I haven't gotten the ones out for August 6th. I did put it on the
posted meetings, on the website. So the 30th is gonna be considered a full meeting.
So my question is if, members of the public come to that meeting, would they be then allowed to go into the buildings or not?
Yes.
They have to
Yes.
be.
Yeah, they must.
So if someone's interested in what's going on with Warm, Safe, and Dry, that would be an opportunity for them to
But
witness.
that make sure we have enough hard hats if they're.
I wanted to
We're
make
going
sure
into
that was
those.
made.
I can bring mine in.
I have a hard hat. Are they tier 2 hard hats?
I don't know.
That's a new
It's
thing.
about bragging about
Sorry.
hard hats,
Wow.
guys.
Mine's blue.
Aaron.
Sorry.
Tier 2, I
It's not 8:30 yet. Let's go. We can
I
close
didn't
it
even
out.
know there's different ratings.
It just happened, so he's showing off.
Before you close it out, what is Fox Valley Technical as far as this committee role? Is it here? Do you go somewhere else?
You go somewhere else?
Do we know?
I don't know much about it. RJ did it for years.
You would, we would introduce you to the director of the Career Center, who's new this year. They have several open houses and events that they have, so it's similar to a school where they have events that are specific, they have competitions for the students. So if you're interested in career and technical education, it's a good one.
So it's not, is it a committee that meets
It's not a
monthly?
committee.
It's basically
It's just being a
like a,
liaison
almost
to
like
that
a
department.
building rep,
Okay.
but because it's kind of not one of our buildings, it's been treated as a liaison, for lack of a better term.
Okay, thank you.
So it's, if you have like, if someone's like, oh, I can't go to every meetings, but I'm willing to touch base with somebody periodically, it might be a good one. That I can only do one a month, you know, that's a good alternative if somebody wants. All right,
Thank you, sorry. It's 8:30.
hearing no more comments, unless somebody would like to interject, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
So moved by Raquel,
Second.
second by Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is now 8:30 PM and the meeting is adjourned. Despite Aaron trying to ruin.